will continue to face challenges like Sir had actually mentioned. We'll actually have challenges like inequality, social injustice, and as well as environmental degradation. So by this mean, we are kind of looking at a large infrastructure provisioning that's going to happen to our cities, and in fact, AIA will be one of the will be one of those important tools which will kind of enable the progress that has actually happened to all these different sectors. So to just give you a highlight about what the AIA has been. AIA in India has actually been started with the 1994 notification provided to under the 1986 EP Act. And the first amendment happened in 2006, which is the one that we actually taken as of now, and which the major inclusion in this has been the construction projects. The inclusion of construction projects. We all know the amount of housing schemes that were released and the real estate sector blooming from the 21st century. So that kind of brought in the need for looking into construction projects. And there were further amendments that brought in the classification on which tier of the government or which tier is going to look into this classification and how is this process going to be implemented. Like I said, we had actually done a lot of literature reviews in terms of looking at what are the literature reviews actually trying to talk about. So we had done about 100 odd papers and what are they trying to really talk about. And something that comes across very clearly is the fact that the need for looking into cumulative impacts was stressed by a lot of authors, primarily because the impacts, when they are actually marginalized to a project, they could be met. But cumulatively, they seem to be a little more threat to a particular situation. So to illustrate this, we had actually taken up a site selection process to narrow down and see what kind of observations do we get at the site. So we had 3 different filters, basically to kind of narrow down to a site. So we had taken all the projects that were mentioned down in MOEF and as well as the State Environment Impact Assessment Authority, out of which we found that 10% of all the projects that have come up in the past have come up in the district of Ahmedabad. In which almost 89% of the projects that have happened in the last 3-4 years have been construction projects. So the amount of projects that have required environmental clearance has really increased and stressed the need for looking into this lens, and also ratifies the need of looking into construction projects, in which we again narrow down to the site. So the site that we are looking at, because we had a paucity of time and as well as a constraint with the resources. So we took up an area of 1.5 square kilometers with the projects that had actually been given environmental clearance, so as to understand what kind of impacts does it actually create. So the area that you're kind of looking at has a kind of a configuration which is merely commercial in nature. And we put out a development projection taking some assumptions in place. So we are taking this assumption in the fact that over the period of 10 years, this area, the land bank of the area will be saturated and it will become a purely commercial area. This is just to give you a preview or to get an understanding of what the site actually looks like, so that you would be able to relate it when we are going through the sectors and what kind of implications does it have. So even though the general EC order takes in a lot of sectors, we have actually narrowed down to 5 important sectors and kind of done a comparative analysis. What happens when you do a conventional EIA, which is a project-based situation, versus a comparison between an area-based proposal, or what kind of impacts will you be actually gaining. So the first sector that I'm going to be talking about is water. You all know water is has a lot of global attention. Only 3% of the world's water is fresh, and the current rate of consumption that we have, we'll be depleting more than the time the nature takes to actually replenish it. 40% of the global population is affected by water scarcity, and 80% of untreated wastewater from the human activities discharged into waterways. So all of these figures gives you an idea that there is a need for looking into a water management strategies. So that's exactly what we tried out at our site. So we had taken up in terms of surveys, we had actually taken up different typologies to understand their consumption patterns and what kind of a water footprint are they getting out. Something that comes across very obvious is the fact that there is a natural dependence on groundwater tables. So about 42% of the entire surveys that were taken up were entirely dependent on groundwater. if this was projected in this case, we are kind of looking into a horrible scenario about 95% of the entire population being dependent only on groundwater. Hence, there is a need to look at water management strategies at different levels, not just project-based. So when you kind of look into the EC orders, they primarily give you suggestions on what can be done in the project-based situation. So here we had actually taken an academic liberty or an exercise to see what else could be done other than what can actually happen in a conventional EIA. So in an area level, we had actually tried out simulations with stormwater management. In the plot level, we talked about rainwater harvesting. In the building level, we had talked about water efficient fixtures and wastewater reuse. So when you kind of put the comparative gains together, we're kind of looking at 41% of reduction when compared to the conventional 26%. So it's kind of very important, and primarily because water and its sources cannot be dealt in separation. They have to be looked into an entire cycle. So if the moment you start to speculate or idealize the fact that no, water has to be taken as a project base, you'll not be able to get the benefits to a maximum extent. Major pollutant particles to be considered. So what you see is that at the present state, you have an exceedance of 2 or twice the amount of permissibility, both in GMP point A as well as GMP. So that even if you start projecting it, you're going to be seeing that there will be improvement in the alarming. So what does EC tell you? So the environment framework norms basically talks about the actions that have to be taken during the construction process. And if you look into the EC orders as well, most of them are in non-compliance. We have to actually look into what are the things that have been taken care of. Most of them are under non-compliance. So you're really not adhering yourselves to the process that you initially started with. Whereas, if you kind of look into an area-based situations, you actually have the urban local body or the body that is going to take up the responsibility will have a chance in terms of improving the air quality index. So when you kind of look into the emissions, we can reduce about 50% of the existing situation that is available at the site. Now we have the energy environment. Energy is a concept that's not really dealt in any depth when you take into consideration with EIA. But this is taking a global relevance today, and a country like ours, where we're developing at a larger state and the consumption is being increasing in terms of the per capita, the amount of emissions that consume really becomes an issue. So in India, the problem is not based on the consumption, but the source from which you're consuming. Our power source consumption comes 64% from thermal plants. So that it is a very carbon intensive situation that we have there. So there is a need to look beyond what we can do and how we can reduce the consumption and as well as reduce the emission that is coming out of it. So there is a possibility of looking at climate sensitive TP schemes, which basically talks about your orientation and how you can reduce the heat that is being generated in your neighborhood. You can talk about solar roof potential. There are mentions about how do you choose renewable energy or appliances that are talking about a reduce in terms of energy consumption, but that is hardly 1%, which doesn't really bring in. But there is a huge potential available, and I think we have to leverage the fact that there are so many other things that can be done in order to use this potential. So cumulatively, if you kind of summarize and see the strategies that are possible at the site as well as the neighborhood level, you kind of reduce the building energy consumption by 50%, and that's the amount of this one. This is entirely modeled and not just by random conversations. We are doing it by a modeling software called Energy Plus that takes into the local considerations as well of Ahmedabad, And the modeling actually gives you a fact that there is a possibility of reducing up to 50% of your energy consumption. Next, we have the green spaces. So, again, this is a global conversation. Most of the cities are defunct of green spaces. So, if you look into the WHO guidelines, it talks about 9 square meter per person. And at this site, we were kind of observing hardly 0.4 percentage, 0.4 square kilometers to be available for per capita. And this, in fact, is going to be reduced over the years, because most of the city green spaces are being used to actually, make way for the construction projects to come in. So the compliance to the EC order, the EC order basically tells you to actually have a green cover in and around the site. But if you even go look at the projects that are coming up, there are hardly any provisions there. And that is not going to improve anything to the particular site that you're actually going to be talking about. But at the same time, if there are provisions available at even your GDCR norms, which is the Development Control Regulations of Gujarat, or even green covers in parking lots, all of this would enable the percentage to be increased. So it again reinstates the idea that when you kind of go beyond the project level and talk about the area-based situation, you can, if not improve that to a great extent, you can kind of reduce the kind of impact that's actually happening. In terms of waste management, again, there is a conversation about segregation of waste, and in fact, Ahmedabad has been doing recently well. But there is a need for you to ensure that that's happening at a constant state. There is a conversation about maintaining your construction rate, which was not, again, has a high level of non-compliance in almost all the sites that we have visited in that particular site. This also calls about strategies at different levels, not just at the project level. You have to talk about the neighborhood level and also the city level itself. So all of these cumulatively will have a much better idea to come in. So if one has to kind of summarize the whole slides that I've actually talked about today and different sectors, what can really happen is when you kind of look into the conventional EIA, the percentage of reduction that you're talking about is relatively from 10 to 15%. That's the hard percentage that you're talking about. But when this can be transferred or be put as a part of the development exercise, so for example, your development plans, or in the state of Gujarat, you have TP schemes, which is the town planning schemes. If this could be embedded as a part of this exercise, you're kind of be talking about a much better game. And in fact, you're kind of adding meaning to the whole exercise of giving environmental justice. The conversation on cities, again, will be relevant only because the localization agenda will not just improve the cities, but also the other goals which are kind of interlinked with each other. And I feel this would be the right platform to kind of illustrate this fact that, yes, we have technical solutions to these situations, but if the lacunae in terms of rules and regulations could be also added onto this, we are looking at a much better future and kind of reaching down to the sustainable development goals that we all are visioning for. Thank you. If there are any questions, I believe.